Hi guys, and welcome to Escape Wheel Watch Reviews. My name is Steve, and today we're going to be reviewing the ix&dao 5303 dive watch. I purchased this watch from the UTC watch store on AliExpress with a slight reviewer discount, but I'll be reviewing it like the $260 watch that it is. And just because I got a discount on it doesn't mean it's going to sway my review one way or the other. And as always, if by the end of this review you find yourself wanting to pick one of these up, head down to the link in the description. That is an affiliate link. I really would appreciate it if you use that. If you do use it, you aren't paying any extra, but this channel will benefit just slightly from the small commission earned. The retail price for this watch starts at $259 US and goes all the way up to $371 US, depending on the movement you choose. And that's before any sales or coupons or taxes. And at the time of this review, there's actually a $25 off coupon right now, so you know you'll be able to save some money from time to time, and what better time than right now, right? The watch is available in 5 different colorways that you can see here, one of those being a slightly different layout with the California style dial and the heavy Fotina Lume. The watch case and bracelet is made of 316L stainless steel. It has a sapphire crystal, screw-down crown, screw-down case back, 200 meters of claimed water resistance, and it's powered by your choice of 3 movements. We have the PT 5000, which is what's in this one here. We have a Sellita SW200 and the ETA 2824-2. So this is a bit of a controversial one. It's an homage of a newer, kind of lower priced micro brand, which has gotten off to a little bit of a rocky start because of the movement they chose. And to top it all off, the micro brand doesn't really brand their watch at all. So when this one started popping up with its very minimal branding, I thought it was the actual, like the original watch. It was, only until a little bit later that I realized it was an homage. You got to look real close right down there to actually see that this is not the original watch. So, yeah, I'm going to leave it up to you guys to decide whether you think this is crossing the line or not. But we're really here to see if this watch is any good, right? So it's a new watch from a new brand with a pretty hefty price tag when it comes to AliExpress, $260. It's not cheap, so yeah, it better be a good watch. So I say we dig in, find out if it is. But before we do, I'm going to do a quick wrist check for the day. Wearing a new Pagani design. I've got this one coming on the channel pretty soon. But yeah, really actually quite like this one. So keep an eye out for that one. All right, let's get to the dimensions. Got a diameter of 40 millimeters right on the dot. I've seen this thing get measured 2 times on camera. One time they came up with 11 point something millimeters. Definitely not that. So this is from the case back to the top of the crystal, the top middle of the crystal, and it comes in at about 12.4 millimeters, 20 millimeter lug width, a lug tip to lug tip of 48.1, and on the supplied middle strap, it weighs about 113 grams. So I think it's a really nice set of dimensions. It's not overly thick, not overly big. I actually feel like it wears a little bit smaller, more like maybe like a 39. So yeah, I'm really happy with the way this thing wears. You've got a decent amount of curvature to those lug tips as well. Yeah, I'm really happy with the way this thing wears. The strap, very unique, very comfortable, and yeah, I think it looks really good. And I think the watch in general just looks really good on wrist. So I'm going to go outside right now and throw it on mine for you. And here we are on my 7.5 inch wrist, and as you can see, it wears great. Love the size on it. Nice curve down to the wrist there, and you get nice light play off of the bezel insert and the polished chamfers on the case, which we'll talk about in just a little bit. It's a very comfortable watch. Got a tapering Melanese mesh bracelet. Yeah, it just wears very comfortably and nice and thin too. So very happy with the watch and the way it wears on wrist, and the size of it I think is just perfect for me. Yeah, it's really nice. And popping out in some direct sunlight here, you can see looks really good. The dial, it's kind of a silvery texture to it. Hopefully you guys can see that. But yeah, it's definitely not a pure white or glossy white dial or anything. It's got some silver to it, but I still think it looks really good. Nice and legible, even with the sun shining right on it. Plenty of air coating. It's great. It looks absolutely wonderful. Very happy with the way this thing looks. And yeah, I think it's going to look even better on some straps. So let's go throw it on some. And here we are on a vintage leather strap that is linked down below. We got kind of tan stitching. It doesn't go great with this, but I actually think that combo looks pretty good. What do you guys think about that one? Here we are on also one of my favorites, the camel suede. Again, link down below. And I just think the colors of this work really, really nicely together. Looks really good. And here we are on kind of an army green canvas from Riche. And again, looking really good. It really brings out the green of those indices, which really is just the luminous material actually lighting up. It kind of has like a creamy color, but you can see here, I mean, that's the green is actually like, you know, the light emitted from the lume. It's quite impressive. Yeah, that looks good. I still like that color combo. We are on an elastic single pass strap there. I think that looks really, really good. Super comfortable combination. I really like that. Again, looking really, really good. And lastly, here we are on a double layer nylon strap in a kind of a desert tan color. And again, I think that looks really good. 2 layers underneath the watch, and it still wears relatively nicely. I mean, it's pretty thin, so yeah, very happy with the way this thing wears. It seems to be a strap monster. Yeah, I think it's going to look great on a bunch of different straps. So yeah, hopefully this helped you out. Let's get back to this review. All right, so let's talk about the case finishing on this thing. And the case finishing is kind of a mix for me. So the case is a mixture of brushed and polished surfaces. And getting up real close here, you can see you've got a really nice brushing on the tops of the lugs there, transitioning nicely to this polished chamfer. The polishing is done really good. The brushing on top of the lugs, I think, is done really good. Nice sharp chamfers, as you can see there. Maybe not quite on par with St. Martin. There's a little bit of a funky little dip in the polishing there, so it's not perfect, but it is really good, and I'm pretty happy with the finishing overall on the tops of the case. It's when we get to the sides of the case that it kind of loses a little bit for me. So you have a horizontal brushing here, and as you can see, I mean, it just doesn't look consistent. So you have a pretty coarse horizontal brushing here, and it kind of transitions to this kind of like a messy, like a little bit finer brushing here, and then back to coarseness over here. You've got hopefully I can show you guys right on this lug tip here, you can see it's just a little bit inconsistent. Flipping it over to the crown side here, you can see it's the same thing over here. So you got a little bit more coarse brushing here, a little bit different, finer brushing there, and it just doesn't look as good as the top brushing, in my opinion. It's not bad, and it is, you know, it's the sides of the case, so you don't really see it that often. You know, it doesn't look horrible. It's just something that I noticed, and that probably shouldn't be there on a watch that costs $260. I've seen better in this price range, I'll say that. You know, St. Martin has $250 watches that look a lot better than this, so that's just something that they could concentrate on. You do have a really nice oversized crown here, unsigned, fully polished, and it's really a good size, unguarded, really a cool look to it, in my opinion. Then flipping the watch over to the case back here, you have polishing on the bottom of the lugs, and then you've got a simple brushed case back. It is a screw down case back. It's got your typical spec sheet around the outside, sapphire, automatic movement, stainless steel, 200 meters. You got your ix&dao. So ix&dao is the actual brand of this watch. A little bit different, unique, really cool logo. I like the logo they have there, and I kind of wish they would put that on some other parts of this watch, on the crown, on the dial, maybe, just to differentiate this a little bit more from the original. But yeah, I think the case back itself, really nicely done, and everything is nice and soft. It's very comfortable on wrist. I've got no problem with it. Okay, so let's talk about the bezel on this thing, and we're going to start with the bezel insert because it's quite unusual. So you have minutes on the outside, as denoted with the red text there, hours on the inside. The minutes are inlaid into a ceramic insert, and the hours are inlaid into a, I guess, steel or aluminum insert. I think it looks really good. So in theory, you could track 2 different time zones with this watch if you wanted to, and you can also use it as your typical dive time bezel. An unusual decision for me was having these minute markings from 40 minutes up to 60. I'm not really sure why they decided to do that. I really prefer them to be on this side here. I don't usually time things for 40 minutes, but that's just me. and it's just a small little, I guess, visual thing that I'm not a big fan of. But I think the insert in itself is executed really nice. I see no issues with it, even getting up really nice and close. You can see the printing is done really nice, and the engraving is also done really nice. You have a loomed pip here at the 12 o'clock. That is apparently a sapphire loomed pip here. Not really sure why they had to point that out, but it is a sapphire loomed pip. And you can see right about there is what it looks like in person. So it is just a little bit off. If I move it one more click, if I can do that, it's quite a bit further off to that side. So mine is off just a hair to the right. I think I'm going to fix that myself. Because yeah, it does bother me enough, and I mean that's something that shouldn't be happening on a $250 watch, in my opinion. But I think the bezel itself is really nice. The grip on this thing, the nice coin edge there, fully polished, really nice finishing on that. It's got a nice sparkle to it. It is ever so slightly sloped. It's not a straight up and down, side to that. And I think it looks pretty good. The grip on it is not the best though. Yeah, it's just not great. There's a lot of resistance, so it does get hard to turn from time to time. It is a 120 click unidirectional bezel. There's very, very minimal play in this thing. I mean, just right there. That's all it is. And I'm trying to move it pretty hard, so you're not going to knock this thing for sure. And I think the movement in the bezel itself it's very solid. There's just a teeny tiny bit of play. I think it gets a pass from me. I just wish the resistance was a little bit less, just because I sometimes I just can't get a good grip on it. The top edge here is pretty rounded off. So that's just me though. I've got some pretty big fingers, but when you do get the clicks, they're nice, they're solid, they're deep. It's not like a tinny sound at all. Yeah, I mean, it sounds really good. Even resistance all the way around. I am overall pretty happy with the bezel action on this thing. It's just a little bit off on the alignment there. All right, let's talk about the crystal on this thing. So we're going to test it for sapphire. And it is a sapphire crystal. No real surprise there. It should be sapphire at this price point, but it's a really nice sapphire crystal. Clear anti-reflective coating, keeps the dial nice and clean. I mean, it's a really good crystal. One of the better ones. They say it is imported from Europe. I don't know what that means either, but yeah, really happy with that. It looks great. It looks absolutely wonderful. It is a box dome sapphire crystal, as you can see there, so lots of distortion on the edges there. Nice and clear in the middle. It's great. I've got zero complaints with this crystal. It looks awesome. All right, so let's talk about the dial on this thing. And the dial is really, again, very interesting. This entire watch is quite unique, as much as unique as a pretty much straight up copy Homage can be. It's a really cool layout though. So the dial on this one, it's not white. It's a very silvery white color. Maybe you can see it. Yeah, you can definitely see it right there. So it looks really good. It kind of has a really soft grain to it. It looks really nice. Very happy with it. The entire dial is printed. So all those indices you see there, that is just Lume printed right on the dial. And it's really good Lume. We'll get to the Lume here in just a second. But you have a printed minute tracker on the outside in black. And then you have your full indices printed at all the hour markers there. You kind of have your balls and stick there at 12 o'clock. And then 3 and 9 o'clock, just your rectangle batons there. A truncated baton at the 6 o'clock with a date cutout there. On the black dials, these are color match date wheels, so that's really nice to see. The branding, like I said, is very minimal, so you don't have your ix&dao logo at the 12 o'clock like you normally do. You have your automatic and 200 meters down here at the 6 o'clock with a little pop of red there. And then you've got your Friends of IPOSE down there at the 6 o'clock. So that's like the only place that differentiates this from the original, as well as that date window. The original doesn't have a date window, but that IPOSE. So I asked the seller what IPOSE is, and IPOSE is the name of a Chinese watch association composed of many Chinese watch enthusiasts, and all the watch brands that we know from AliExpress, they are part of this association. So ix&dao is the brand, and this IPOSE is basically just a bunch of watch lovers and watch companies in China. So this is a Friends of IPOSE. So I learned something today. I thought that was pretty cool. And having it on the dial makes a little bit more sense now. Yeah, it was a very confusing release from ix&dao, but now we kind of know the story of this. IPOSE is a association, ix&dao is the actual the brand of this watch. So, but getting back to the dial itself, specifically the handset on this thing is so cool. You know, getting up real close, I'm hoping this comes across. I know it came across in the macro, but it might not be coming across here. But it's kind of a textured black handset. It looks really, really good. They do sell this in blue, and in that, I believe the handset is blue on those. It looks really good. Very cool. Perfect size in my opinion. Nice big broad arrow there for the hours. The second hand reaches right out to the minute track. It's perfectly sized. I think it looks great. You kind of have a greenish tinge to all the hour markings here, and that's not from the Lume itself. So when this thing doesn't have any Lume charged in it and it's in a room, it's kind of just like a little bit of an off-white color, but that is pretty rare. So the Lume on this thing is quite insane. I'm going to pop up a Lume shot right now, and here you can see it against some of the other watches in the collection. So that green tinge you see is actually the Lume glowing. It's a very bright initial burst of Lume. You can see it kind of lit up the dial there, and it holds on all night long. It goes strong with some of the best watches in my collection. It's really good Lume. Quite impressive for a dial that is fully printed. I am extremely happy with the Lume on this thing. All right, so let's talk about the movement in this thing. So the movement in this one is the PT5000 automatic. I'm gonna pop up the time grapher shot right here, and here you can see, I mean, it's running great. I've got no issues with the PT5000. I've had them in so many watches, and they've all run great for me. I haven't had some of the winding issues that some people have said. Yeah, they're a great budget movement. It's a clone of the IXDAO 2824, which you can actually get in this watch for about $110 more, I think. About $110 more. And you can also get the Swiss Solita SW200 for somewhere in between there. So you do have lots of options there, which is nice to see. They're all reliable movements. They're all exactly the same as far as their specs go. They hand wind 28,800 beats per hour, so you get a nice smooth 8 ticks per second of that second hand. Roughly 40 hours of power reserve. They're reliable, they're accurate, they're great movements. I've got no issues with it. So they are all operated by a 3 o'clock screw down crown. Again, unsigned, nice big crown though. Really happy with the grip on it. The screw in and screw out action is nice and smooth. No issues with that. The hand winding of the PT5000, it's quite heavy like I expect from the PT5000, so no surprises there. So you can pop it out to the first position here, and this is where you change your date. And the dates, they look a little bit off. I haven't really noticed them being off. Maybe it's because I'm manually changing it. I don't know. They maybe look a little bit off. I don't know. What do you guys think about that? Anyway, pull it out to the third position. That hacks your movement. And here you can set your time. Yeah, I mean, everything works as it should. I see no issues with it. Very happy with the movement. It's been accurate for me, and it does everything I'm going to need it to do. And hopefully it'll be reliable for a long time. All right, so let's talk about the bracelet on this thing. And the bracelet is really, really nicely done. I'm really happy with the bracelet. I'm not a fan of Milanese mesh bracelets, but this one, yeah, it's good. I've never had an issue with the comfort of them, and I just didn't like the way that they looked. So the way they integrated the bracelet end link here, it's just a little bit different. It gives it a little bit more class, maybe a little bit more tool vibe to it. And I really, really like it. So the bracelet itself is 20 millimeters. It does taper down to 16 millimeters at the clasp. That is also something that I really like. All my other Milanese mesh bracelets, they don't taper at all. So the fact that this one tapers, it's really nice. You saw in the macro earlier, but here's another nice close-up of it. It's a brushed top. Even though it doesn't look brushed here, it is brushed if you get really close to it. It looks really good, and the sizing on this thing is really interesting. So you can see the bottom side here. You can see these little grooves right here. So that's your sizing mechanism there. So you just take your end of the strap here, which is nicely finished, and tuck it into the buckle here. You got to flip up the lid there, and then you tuck it in, and so it goes on the inside there, so it's a nice clean look. And then this little groove here kind of fits on the groove of the strap itself, and then you latch it down, and I believe that's just kind of like a pressure fit thing. So it's a really nice, seamless, clean look there. You can see there's no branding on the buckle either. I wish they would brand that. But yeah, I mean, really nicely done. You got lots of kind of fine adjustments. My only issue with this is how to actually buckle this with one hand. It's quite difficult to get a good tight fit on it. So you're just going to kind of have to play with it. Like I usually put it on wrist, and it ends up being, one or two notches too loose, and then I have to tighten it up. And that's kind of where it gets a little difficult, because if you're not in one of these notches on the bottom here, it's kind of hard to, like right there, you can see it's not in one of those notches, and it's kind of hard to snap that closed. And if you do snap it closed, it will probably pop open on you. So you kind of have to move the bracelet just a little bit more, get it to nestle into one of those notches, and then you can easily close it. So that's really my only complaint as far as, the fitment of it. When it's on wrist, it's very comfortable. These end links give nice articulation, as you can see here. I did have one of these screws here trying to back out. I don't know if it's doing it again. And I don't remember which screw it was. They all look good now. But that's just something to, take note of when you're wearing this thing. But really nicely done. You get your pretty nice fitment in here. These end links are nice and solid. The spring bars that they use are, again, nice and solid. They kind of just popped right in and out just like you'd want them to. Yeah, they're nice spring bars. The articulation on these links are all done really nicely as well. And you can see here, I mean, just the finishing on the end links themselves is really good. I am pretty happy with this. I think it looks good. It's definitely unique, but it's very comfortable, very functional, and I think they did a pretty good job with it. So there you go, guys. That is the IXDAO. The official model number for this is IXDAO01, and it's a really it's a good watch. I think the $270 or $260 price maybe just a little much for what I'm seeing here. A little bit of a quality control issue with the alignment of the bezel insert, the rough finishing on the sides here. I kind of expect a little bit better from that, but I will say it looks really good. The movement is very accurate. The bracelet is nice and comfortable, good bezel action, awesome crystal, great lume, cool style. I cannot wait to see what they come up with next. I want to see what they bring out next. Definitely a watch to be looking at in 2023. I'm very happy with this watch. I think you guys will too. Yeah, it's really good. It is very controversial. I know that, guys. Let me know what you think about that down in the comments. I kind of, I don't know. I'm kind of torn on the whole thing. I'm not a fan of how the original brand has been treating their customers as far as the issues they're having with their watches. But I guess that doesn't give anyone else the right to rip off their designs. Pretty much 100%. So again, this is a Homage watch. It's not a replica watch. They're not trying to be the brand that it looks like. But the fact that they don't put much branding on it, maybe that's something I would like to see more. I like the IXDAO logo. Put that at 12 o'clock. Put it on the crown. As much as I like this bracelet, maybe just go with a regular Melanese mesh or something like that. Just something to differentiate it a little bit more from the original. And I think more people would get on board with this thing. But as it is, I think it's a really good watch. I think you're going to like it. I like it. I'm going to keep on wearing it. I think that's about it for me, guys. Thanks a lot for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. See ya.